another episode of the All In Podcast. I'm your host, David Moore, CEO and team leader of Keller Williams Arizona Realty in Scottsdale and North Phoenix, with my co-host, Joe Quattrucci, the director of growth of the Kristen Cole Real Estate Network. And today we have a special guest from Sin City, the place that keeps all the secrets, Las Vegas, Nevada, Carley Rae. How are you, Carley?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. Thanks so much for joining us today. We really are excited to dig into your story and your business, and I know it's going to bring a lot of value to our guests.
We're excited.
Yeah. Carley, thanks so much for being with us. Kind of start us off, give our listeners kind of a high-level overview of what business you're in and how you got started in real estate.
Okay, so I am a team lead of 9 women in Las Vegas. I got started in real estate because I was a single mom at 2. I was slaying tables. Just kidding. I was a high-level food and beverage captain, which is pretty much a gourmet server at Caesar's Palace, and I had been there for several years. I worked for Bobby Flay for a while, and then ended up getting into a restaurant called Mr. Chow, which is one of the most world-renowned Beijing restaurants, and worked my way up from being a hostess all the way up to a captain, and that was super cool because I made a crap ton of money and met a bunch of celebrities and had a lot of fun, but my kids were at home with a nanny, and I didn't have kids to not spend time with them. And it kind of got to the year at Caesars where my oldest was going to be in kindergarten that coming fall. And I knew I got to spend the days with them and then kind of work the nights. But as soon as my son went to kindergarten, I wouldn't see him except for, maybe on the weekends. And then I worked weekends too, and I worked all the holidays. So I had met with someone in regards to maybe doing real estate part-time because I thought, if I do a deal once in a while, maybe I can take a couple extra days off of work and I can be home more. Slowly realized that you cannot do real estate part-time. You have to kind of go all in, do it full-time if you want to be successful. So fast forward 3 years. Last year, April of 2019, I launched my team. I grew from just me and one girl last November to now having 9 other agents that work for me. And I've got 3 in the wings that are hoping to join in the next couple weeks. But I'm kind of on a pause of hiring right now. We did a crap ton of business this year. I've been nominated for 30 Under 30 in the nation for realtors, so that's kind of exciting. Yeah, I turned 30 this coming year, so if I don't get it this year, then shame on me. We're different than a lot of real estate teams, especially in Las Vegas, because I'm kind of like this anomaly. Vegas, you look at the top 250, you're primarily going to see a bunch of men that have been doing it for a really long time. And so for some, 5'1" blonde girl with like bombshell agents walking with her kind of coming and creeping up to these guys is like, who is this chick and where did she come from? So it's been quite exciting. We're all female. We speak 8 languages. Most of us are single moms or from other countries where, they left their family to come to America to have like that quote unquote American dream. And I'm able to help them achieve that goal through real estate. So.
Wow. There's so much to unpack there. So many incredible accomplishments. And I don't really know exactly where to start, except to say congratulations on the 30 Under 30 nomination. And I know for Joe and I, we missed the boat on that. And so that was a big midlife crisis for us when we were like, oh, shoot, we're 30. So that's going to be awesome when you accomplish that. I guess my first question to make sure I understood correctly. So you went basically from no one to a team of 9, and that was like in a year? Or
yeah. Yep, in a year.
Unpack that a little bit. I mean, how did you scale that quickly?
It's funny because I had come from a team. So unlike most team leads, I physically had been mentored for 2 years. I had been a part of a team. So I had learned the ins and outs of what I loved and thrived about being in that environment and things that I thought, okay, if I was to be in charge, this is how I would improve it. And so what's funny is I've never like put out an interview. I've never said, hey, I'm hiring, looking for agents. All of the girls that are on my team, I've met through organic referrals. They've found me on Facebook. I get a random like text message because they've, you know, talked to Buck, my team lead at Keller Williams, and like, hey, looking for a great team. So they've all just organically come. And I feel, and I told this to my broker when I had this idea of having this like powerhouse of like, you know, women. I said, this is either going to be the worst idea anyone ever had, or it could be the most powerful thing that anyone ever thought of. And I would say it's the second. You know, being a girl, I'm one of 4 girls, so all sisters, and you know, there's some some exciting things about that. And then, you know, girls can be catty, they can be mean, they can be jealous. So it takes a special type of person to come on our team to respect kind of the culture and family and the respect that we have for each other, and that we win in success as a whole. You know, if someone takes a $1.5 million listings and sells it, everyone should be excited because that was us. Our team was a part of that. So, and I encourage the girls, most of my girls are also in their first year real estate. So they're like, we're starting from ground zero. And I feel like if you learn how to do real estate correctly, you're going to be very successful very quickly. If you have a bunch of bad habits or you're stuck in this other way of thinking that's how you're going to do it, it might be a little bit, same with serving though. I will tell you, I think that's what made me a really good server was I was trained by someone, and this is exactly how you did it. I didn't have any sloppy habits. And so I was quick and I was able to just learn and excel. And I think in real estate too. But yeah, November last year, I had 1 agent on my team. And then in a pandemic of all times, I had so many girls find me. I also teach a lot of classes. So I'm a nerd for contracts. So duty sale, BBA, listing, like I teach a lot of classes at KW. And so some people found me from outside brokerages just by teaching these classes and being like, wow, she really knows her stuff. I want to be in that environment. So
yeah.
Carley, I hear you talking really a lot about culture, and David and I talk about culture all the time, and it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but a big part of your success this past year has been, I mean, did you have to basically articulate what you wanted your brand and your culture to be internally and externally, and then that's how you started getting referrals for people? Or I guess what I'm trying to get to is it seems like based on all the things I see on your social media is that you have a really strong culture and that you know what you want your business brand to be and that you're bringing in people that match that look and feel. Is it something that you had to decide on and articulate to people for them to start sending you referrals, or did you just kind of put it out into the world? How did it actually start to unfold that you got into business with these other ladies who have such alignment with where you want to go with your business?
Sure. I think it's probably a little bit of both. Like in my bio that I wrote, I'm a lover for the classics. So like the 1950s women that were all dressed up in the bright red lips and the hair and just that, like in heels, and just looked beautiful. And everywhere they went, they just, you know, there was, and my mom is like that. My mom is the most beautiful woman, and she's always been so put together, and I've always admired that. And I feel like people were drawn to her because of the way that she presented herself. And so I feel in my business, whether it's aesthetically or on Facebook or whatever, I want people to think of us as classy, beautiful, intelligent women. We're in a city, Sin City. We're in a city where, you know, women's persona might be a little bit different than how it should be. We're here to set, you know, a different standard. I mean, like when I go to teach a class, a lot of people have no idea I'm the instructor. They're like, wait, you just were sitting with me in the back and you're a girl and you're not even 30. Like, how are you teaching this class? Hello, welcome, you know, so I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah, I think the way that I've presented myself, and then having a very clear expectation in the interviews with the girls when I'm meeting them, I feel you're able to understand someone's personality in a few simple questions. And, you know, not everyone's a good fit for a team. Might be a great independent agent. I'm looking for a very specific type of personality that's going to mesh well and, like I said, not disturb the culture.
Yeah, and I guess that's ultimately was the question I was really getting to was it almost seems like you're finding people that you're going to enjoy getting along with and who you're going to enjoy going to work with every day. And oh, by the way, they happen to sell real estate as well. Is that a fair statement? You're finding people that you're more in alignment with personally?
Oh yes, it's insane. I feel like it's God ordained. To be honest, there was one girl in particular. I was having a really emotional personal day, and I'm a very when I'm at work, it's all about work. I'm very black and white. But my sister was going through some severe health issues, and I had this girl. She was gonna come interview with me, and I knew I was just had finished crying. I'm like, I need to get it together. This girl's gonna be so upset when she meets me, and she comes in and she's wearing a mask or whatever, and I said, oh, okay. I said, if you want to take that off, whatever makes you more comfortable. She goes, no, I have a thyroid disorder, so I'm very prone for COVID. And I kind of looked at her and I said, you do? I said, what do you have? And she said, I have Hashimoto's, thyroid, and then Epstein-Barr. And that's exactly what my sister just was diagnosed with, and it's put her through a loop. And to see my sister go from so productive and this and that to have this autoimmune disease just take her a swing low, and this girl had been battling it for 10 years and had overcome it. And so to meet this person on a day that I was so emotional about my sister, and her have living proof of, hey, I can get you through this other thing. Now she's mentoring my sister on how to get through this disease, on things that have helped her. So it's just that's, to me, that's God. Hey, this is someone that needs to be in your life, not just personally, but is also someone that can be a great real estate partner to you. So
that's one of the coolest things that I think I've ever heard on this podcast, and I appreciate you sharing that. One of the things that I picked up on as well, when you made the analogy of being successful in real estate to your serving career before real estate, you made a comment, essentially, someone who's successful showed you how to do it, and you just, it sounds like, followed that system, right? And it sounds like you just took that same methodology into real estate, and you followed a system.
Right.
Is that a fair statement? And if so, what was that?
Yeah.
What was that system? What did you do to be successful?
So in serving, there was a saying that the owner at the Beijing restaurant said was, embrace the chaos. And what he meant by that, there will be days where you're 4 or 5, you've been quadruple sat. And at that restaurant specifically, and thankfully I have a very good memory, we weren't allowed to write down orders. So I would sometimes, if I got triple sat or quadruple sat, I would have to remember every single table's food order before I could even go to a computer to just unload that. And it was crazy. But the reason they said that was, you're going to crave that chaos, and meaning crave the crazy. So if you accomplish something, super big, and then you get used to it. Now it's a normality. Now breaking the ceiling, and then breaking the ceiling. And so for me, it was, I just kind of put down everything of how I do real estate, and that's exactly how I train. I took all the stuff that I know and talk about and put it on paper, and then the girls are required, this is exactly how we do things. We don't waste our time, getting a car and showing a buyer that hasn't hired us. You've come in, you've hired me through a buyer brokerage agreement. I've gotten you pre-approved, and now we're taking you out searching. And I think that's increased our referral business, because we're taking the time to get to know someone on that beginning level. And they're not always ready now. There might be 6 months to a year out, but then that's where our follow-up game is intense, where, we're not just with you to get through to a transaction. We're here to get you through to the finish line. And then even after that, I want to be in your circle. I want to be in your life. I want to be, I want to be your go-to for anything and everything. And so our referrals are insane. And this is the first year I've even paid for any type of marketing, because we've done so much business just from knowing people, normal systems, let's say door knocking or whatever, but my referrals. And so I feel like real estate somewhat come easy to me, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but I think because I get so many referrals, I haven't had to go out and find a lot of extra business. And then when I had a team, it was okay, I need to be able to duplicate whatever it is that I'm doing very, very well into my girls, so that they're having that same type of referral success, but also learning the different systems. I don't want to say a jack of all traits, where I want you to cold call for 6 hours, and I want you to do this, and I want you to do that. I take the girls, I look at their disc tests, and I decide, okay, what is your personality type and how are you going to learn? Also, what are you good at, and how can I exceed what you're good at? Because I might have a girl that's killer on the phones. Awesome. Let's train on that. Let's focus on that. And I have a girl that's terrified of the phones, but is fantastic at in-person, let's say business to business or door knocking. I'm going to have them focus on that, because if they focus on the energy of the stuff that they're really good at, they're going to be great. So I'm a little bit different than most people.
Well, you've taken a really tailored approach to your team, and something that I talk to rainmakers about with their teams is being able to recognize who you're in business with, what their strengths and weaknesses are, and how you're going to grow them. I mean, you've taken that as your responsibility now, and if you can't execute on that, then your team's going to fall apart. And so I think you've done that extremely well. Something that you also said, and now that I just brought that up, I'm going to forget it. But you essentially were talking. Man, I've never done this on this show, Joe.
That's okay, David. I do it all the time.
Completely spaced.
And I have a question, so you go ahead and think about it, and I'll ask the next question. That's why we're a team. Carley, I wanted to ask you about your marketing, because you mentioned at the beginning of the podcast you wanted to create a brand where you were perceived as these beautiful, classy women who sell real estate. And I've looked at your social media, and that's exactly the impression I get. I mean, I think those two words are precisely the two I would use: classy and beautiful. So my question for you is, once you had that business concept in mind, what did the marketing strategy look like? Did you bring in a professional? Give some guidance to people out there that are thinking about kind of rebranding their business. Where did you get started, and how did you do it so quickly?
So first it started with, I wanted my logo, I wanted that logo to be something that people would recognize. And so my family's from the Midwest, so colored doors, or bright red doors, things, or old school, my family's from Iowa, where you've got houses that are built in 1900. And so just the doors, the skeleton keys, things that are to me old fashioned, is kind of, I wanted to bring that. So it started with my logo, and then it started with having a presence on social media that was consistent. So, being mindful of my posts, not even just business-wise, but also personally, and it's funny because I got to a point where, I used to only post about my kids. But then I was like, okay, I'm probably missing out on a lot of, opportunities here. So started my Facebook page, and then it started with getting professional photos. And I wanted the photos to be just, wow, who are these girls? And so I had everyone wear black. So black on black. We went to a friend of mine who does model homes, or is in, the new builds. And we picked a really just classy house, and we just took very classy photos. And I'm telling you, amongst that, and then I'm a nerd for good quotes and things like that. So that's kind of where the branding started. It was the photos, and we had so many different shots of individual team, and then quotes, and then throw it into real estate. So then every time someone had a closing, we would do a collage of the photos and the girl, motivational type stuff. Yeah, that's probably where it started. But now I'm strategic. You have to do photos all the time. So probably every 6 months, and I probably will end up doing it every quarter, I'm going to take new photos of something different about Las Vegas, or something different about it, because our team's grown too. So I've had to take new photos because we've grown so quickly. But I would tell you, us being dressed professionally, us looking professional, not to mention, several times a week, we're, hey, under escrow, sold, under contract, out showing. We're bringing to life what we're doing every day. Hey, I'm at a signing, take a picture. Or there's been times my kids have destroyed my office, all 3 of them in there, the baby's crying, it's bad. I'll take a picture. This is my real life, guys. Full-time real estate, full-time mom. Here's my office, you know where to find me, and sometimes when I incorporate my kids, I will get messages thank you for being real, because you don't just post stuff about how professional you are, you post that sometimes you're in the struggle too, or that your kids aren't perfect, and they don't always look perfect. And so I've gotten a lot of responses, and it's amazing from social media this year specifically, how many people have reached out to me from high school that I haven't spoken to in 15 years. Hey, I've been watching your journey, never commented on my stuff, never liked anything, never reached out, but send me a DM, looking to buy a house, and I would love to interview you. It's huge.
People are watching. Yeah, people are watching, and what you're getting at is the power of a brand and the power of a brand story. And I think even when we talk about hiring and growing and how you've scaled quickly, it's because like you tell an authentic, empowered story. And you also strike me, Carley, as a risk taker. Because like you were saying, like this is either going to be the best experiment in the world or it's going to be the biggest disaster. And you're willing to like go out and figure that out and walk that journey. And it's turned out thus far to be, the biggest success. And that's fantastic. That also shows up in your marketing and branding, because like you said, you are in a city where maybe the social, women may be looked at or marketed differently in Vegas. I mean, that's just a real thing. And so to use the words classy, beautiful, intelligent, empowered, and create a brand that tells a different story, like there's big risk that you're taking there. And yet when you take big risk, there's big reward, right? Because that stands out. And that's in your proof, living proof. And it didn't sound like it was anything overly complex, but there was a systematic approach. Take photos every 6 months that tell a story. Find the home that you want to market and sell, and go take your photos and make your content there. What inspires you from a quote standpoint? Use that. And I think that sometimes agents, whether you're new or in the business trying to get better, you have to realize that it's not a silver bullet. It's simple process and system that gets you to the next step. So you've taken us through so much of the success over the last few years. I'm curious if you'd be willing to share if you've had any failures and what it's taught you.
Failures. Yeah, I fail every day. It's funny. Every time, that's probably why I'm such a nerd with contracts, because I feel like in negotiations or winning, and then we're talking about like transactional, whoever knows the contract better is essentially going to win. If you can't come to a compromise with I just went through this like yesterday, and it was not that I'm wrong. It was the vagueness of the contract, if you will. So leaving things up for interpretation, which leaves a gray area. Like in my mind, something's not documented, it never happened. And so what had happened with this specific scenario, and it's happened a few times, which makes my systems better, is being more specific on what I'm talking about. Because this example was a request for repairs. The way that it's written in Nevada is pretty much any cosmetic, I forget the word of it, like home item is fine to be handled by yourself. Everything else to be handled by a licensed electrician or a licensed professional. And in this instance, our seller has been a landlord for 18 years, very, very handy. He's done all of the handiwork on his property. So when we got the request for repairs on one of these investments we were selling, it was simple stuff, replacing a garbage disposal, changing out a fan that was making noise, an outlet, simple stuff. I could probably do it, to be honest. I'm pretty handy. I was painting like till midnight last night because I just bought a new house and I'm remodeling, and I do a lot of the work myself. But our interpretation was he was fine to do it. They didn't specify that it needed to be done by anybody licensed. We didn't say that we were doing it. It came down to the walkthrough, and they held up closing because we didn't have a licensed professional who had signed off on it. You didn't ask for it. It's not in the contract. And so we went through hoops. So I think my biggest failure is going to be, I need to be better at articulating in my contract and being very specific. And it sounds silly, but this one issue has caused a week of headache for me, and it should have never done. The repairs are done. You've checked them, you did your own walkthrough. Anyways, be so specific with your contracts. If it's not in writing, it never happened. And that's with co-op agents. You had a conversation on the phone. I now email our conversation. Hey, based on my call such and such, this is what we discussed. Just wanted to reference that back in writing, because you had these on the phone conversations, whatever, and then you can't reference it if it's not documented. So that's the biggest failure, is needing to be better with documentation with everything.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that specific example, Carly, and I appreciate you saying at the very beginning that you fail every day, and maybe a lot of people were kind of thrown off by that, but that's realistic and transparent, and I think it's important for us all to kind of remind ourselves every day we're all just doing the best we can with what we have, and we're constantly failing forward and learning from our mistakes. And when you look at, this is a good note for even just myself, when I'm looking at like my competition or the other people out there that are succeeding at a higher level, and I'm wondering what they have that I don't, they're just continuing to test, they're continuing to experiment and learn and fail, and we're all just kind of doing what we can with what we have in front of us. Nobody has all the right answers all the time. And so I appreciate your transparency and your vulnerability around saying, you fail every day and you're still failing every day. And that's all part of the cycle. That's all part of the process. And that's part of what has brought you to this point in your success so far. Would you agree?
Yeah. For me, it's a learning lesson. I will probably make a mistake once, maybe twice, but I don't make it more than that. So if I mess up on something, I learned my lesson. It brought to life something like I didn't even know that I needed to know. And like, all right, cool. You won. Got it. Cool. I will be better next time. And same with the girls. And so part of our weekly meeting is we talk about failures. Hey, not even just failures, but hey, this was a difficult situation. This is what happened. This is how we got to a solution. So next time we come across something that's similar to this is how we handled it last time. Because and that's, I think, the benefit of our team is you're not just learning from your transaction. You're learning from all the girls' different transactions, the hiccups, this, that, and the other, co-op agents, things that have happened, the way that a client spoke to us. Just we're learning all the time, and we continue to make notes. Hey, you know what? Because this happened, this is what we need to do moving forward. And because this happened, this is what we need to do moving forward. And that helps everybody. Even me, I've done hundreds of transactions, and this one threw me for the loop, and I'm like, all right, there we go. It's another learning lesson.
And I hope I hope you picked up on All In Community that one of these failures that you're bringing up, Carly, it's also the thing you love the most. At least that's one of the things that you shared with us. You love contracts, you teach contracts, and yet the first failure, if you will, or challenge that you brought up and that came to mind was contracts. And I hope people pick up on that, because I want you guys to remember that one of the best ways that you learn is by teaching. By putting yourself out there and actually teaching something, it forces you to get better at it. And so if you're at a brokerage right now that has opportunities, or even if you're not, if you want to get better at listing, I want you to sit down and I want you to teach someone how to do a listing presentation. I want you to get out and about in the community and help someone, work on an investment pro forma, something like that. How do you price property? How do you analyze an investment? All of these things, if you go out and you teach it, you're going to get better at it. And so I just was picking up on that, Carly, and I love that it just happened like that. So what's next for you in your business? What do you see? Where do you want to go with the Realty Rae Group?
It's funny because we just did our business plans, and I feel Buck and I were talking about this. So team leader, he was like, what you've done in 1 year, most agents take 3 to 5 years to do, the growth, the success, and all that. And so for me, one thing that's super cool is actually tonight at 7 p.m. we'll officially be on Amazon Prime with our new TV show, and we go on cable starting next month. So you'll be able to kind of watch our journey with that. So
we'll definitely link that up in the show notes when that's coming out. So
yeah, so excited about that. Like for me, I always wanted quality over quantity. I didn't intend for my team to get so big. So that's why I said I've got a few girls that are on the wings that are interested in joining. I got all my girls into production this year. I want to really get that solid and going before I kind of have like a next chapter of a team or growing. Everybody's like, hey, are you going to go in other markets? Are you going to open up a male division? I keep asking, hey, are you going to have an all men's team? Can you, hit me up when that comes live? I'll send you my headshots. I'm like, I'll let you know. But yeah, for me, this next year specifically, it's going to be a growth year for me. It's going to be doubling the results that we did, probably bringing on a couple new agents, but probably my 2 to 3 year goal would be opening up in a couple other markets, just because of some of my heavy investor partners are in other cities. And so it'd be great for me if I went to Atlanta, or, if I was in Indianapolis, places like that where these investors are heavy. I could duplicate what I'm doing here and have someone that's like a me in that city and then grow. So
definitely. I want to ask you, you've been pretty vulnerable with us, and my wife and I, frequently comment anytime we're alone with the kids for any length of time, how powerful single mothers are. And since you've had the opportunity to lead so many of them and just work and empower single moms, what do you say to the single mom that's listening right now who maybe is just getting into real estate or is thinking about it, or doesn't feel maybe like she's giving her kids the life that they deserve? How do you encourage that woman right now?
Sure. I would say start with taking a look in the mirror, because your ability to even bring a child to this earth took so much work that, I'm sorry, a guy couldn't ever do. So the fact that you even did that part of it, the amount of they say that childbirth is equivalent to breaking 72 bones at the same time. So that is what it feels like to have a baby. That is the equivalent in pain. So if you can physically do that, your ability and capability to go and do anything you want is huge. And on top of that, in real estate, you can make anything you want, and there's nothing wrong with mac and cheese at night, okay? There's nothing wrong with doing a drive-through. I think Bad Moms, I don't know if you guys ever watched that movie, but I resonated so much with that movie, because I'm like, I am a bad mom, I don't have the organic food all the time, and my house is sometimes a mess, and I'm running. I'm like that. Okay, get out of the car, go, jiu-jitsu is starting, we're late, come on, let's go. I would just tell that girl, find someone that sees your worth. If you don't physically see it right now, you need to find someone that's going to pour into you, that's going to love on you, and that's going to see all of the greatness that you have inside and help you see that for yourself. Because when you start seeing the person in your mirror of loving yourself and loving your flaws, and it's hard. Us women are so critical. We see these beautiful supermodels and we're like, oh my gosh, I want that waist, and I need lip fillers, and I need this, we're trained that way. That's how the media wants us to look at ourselves. But truthfully, the guys that fall in love with us don't fall in love with us because of what we look like with makeup on, or how much money we have. They fall in love with us because of our heart and our drive, our nurturing, our ability to make people feel good. Like my kids, for example, they love their dad. It's all about their dad. And then when they get hurt or they're sick, then they want me, because that's what I do. I nurture and I love, and I make them feel good. And so I would tell any woman that is a single mom, you have more strength than you know. And find someone that can pour that into you if you can't see it for yourself right now. Or tell yourself every day, I'm beautiful, I'm smart. Like that movie, The Help, where you're important, you're beautiful. Tell yourself that stuff, because eventually you're going to believe it. If you don't believe it now, just keep saying it, because eventually, you will believe that. And what can happen when that comes to light is huge. So, yeah.
I think those are words of wisdom. And when you said that childbirth is equivalent to breaking 72 bones, all I could think is I've never broken a bone in my life. And yes, I agree. I could never, Joe, we could never do that. So Carley, this is awesome, and it's empowering, and what you've built is incredibly, admirable. I'm excited to see your TV series and what you accomplish with that as you double down on the strengths and the people that you have in your world. I want to transition us to the last segment of our show, if that's okay. We call it 3, 2, 1 action. It's the same 3 questions we ask every single guest. We put you on the hot seat. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So 3 questions. Joe, you want to kick us off?
Let's do this. All right, Carley, who's been the one person in your life that's been most influential on your business, and why?
Oof, most influential on my business. Shit. This is going to be a personal thing. I'm going to revert to my mom, even though my mom actually she's on my team as of August. And the reason I say that is my mom was a single mom, and she worked 3 jobs when I was little to get by. Because my dad just left, my mom ended up getting remarried, and so I have an adopted dad, but she worked, I remember her being tired. I remember her taking naps in between and probably working 20 hours a day. She went from this job to that job or whatever. And if my mom could do that, then I know that I could be successful doing this. I didn't have to hold on to the Caesars job, because I told you, I worked both jobs for an entire year, and the ability to let that go and just have confidence in my own abilities is really when my business took off. So
I love that. Well, question number 2, what's been the most influential book on your business?
Oh, probably Rocket Fuel. Have you read that?
Yeah. Why Rocket Fuel?
Because every integrator needs a high level visionary, you know what I mean? Or a visionary needs an integrator. And so I'm the pie in the sky. I have all these great ideas, and I'm way up here, and we want to do this and I want to do that. And my biggest hire this year was finding an assistant to kind of rein me in. And that's great to have all these ideas, but help me also stay focused and on target so that I can achieve those goals. I have a nonprofit that I'm starting to fund debate kids, because I was a debate nerd too, to be seen, to go to tournaments and to look good and to be in suits, and granted COVID's throwing a little bit of a loop in that, but my love and fulfillment for wanting to do for other people is so great. But sometimes I have to focus on, okay, if I want to do that, these are the things that I need to do in order to kind of jump all in. So I'm not spreading myself. I'm good at spreading myself very, very thin, and committing to too many things. So she helps me definitely rein in and be more focused so that I can do those things that I want to do, just in an order that needs it to be done.
So cool. I have an attorney friend who has a nonprofit that provides suits and dresses for mock law and debate. And cool. I'm seeing you in an alternate universe with your love of contracts and debate and everything. Maybe being an attorney in the future too. I guess I wouldn't put that past you. You may as well just spread yourself really thin. Yeah. All right. Question number 3.
All right, third and final question, Carley, this is, as you know, the All In Podcast, where we challenge our listeners to go out there and take action to affect their business. So what bit of advice, what actionable item can our listeners go out there and take right now today to begin to move the needle forward in their businesses?
Get a business plan, sit down and stick to it. Get it laminated, check in with yourself once a month. I'm one of those, I think we talked about it on that call, that 12-week year. I do it every 4 weeks, because for me, it's I have high ambitions and high goals, and I'm very, very driven. However, if I'm not checking in with my own accountability, I'm not going to get anywhere I want to be. So it's a hard look in the mirror. It's hey, this is what you said you're going to do. These are your results. Did you do it? Yes or no? Or these are the results that you want. If they're not, the only person that can truly change anything is yourself. I went to a self-development course, and one of the biggest things that I took away from that is the only thing that you can ever affect, or the only thing that you can ever have complete control of in your life, is the way that you react to other people's actions. And I think that for yourself, you are self-accountable. So if you're not where you want to be in life, you need to take a hard look in the mirror and decide, okay, this isn't the life that I want to live. I do not want to be a server at Caesar's Palace with 2 kids at home. What is it that I'm going to do today so that I don't have to be this person anymore? And it's not always a quick transition. Sometimes you have to set a goal. Hey, for me, it was a year. I'm going to get to being vested at Caesar's Palace. I have retirement, one day. But then I did it. And that feeling of, okay, I had a goal, I stuck to it. And then on December 13th of, 2017, I said goodbye. That was huge. And, and I went with a great, big hugs and a champagne toast. It was wonderful. So stick to your goals.
That's awesome. Carley, this has been so valuable. I've learned, I know Joe's learned. Where can our guests learn and find more of your content?
Sure. So big on Facebook. So if you go to Realty Rae Group on Facebook, you'll be able to see us and what all the girls are up to. You can go to our website at realtyraegroup.com. And coming this evening, it'll be on Amazon Prime, Roku. Again, if you look up The American Dream and you type in Carley Rae, you'll be able to start seeing our featured episodes once a month.
Very cool. Well, we'll link that up. We're excited to watch the show. Thank you so much for spending some time with us right after taking a listing. You guys now have a Vegas connection. Carley, thank you. Have a very happy holidays, and we'll talk to you and see you hopefully soon.
Hopefully soon. Yes. Have a great holiday, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carley.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to this episode of the All In Podcast. We want to invite you to find all of today's resources from our show page at aipodcast.co. We also ask that you take just 1 minute to leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcast. This is how we grow and how we're able to bring you the best content each and every week. Now go play all in.